Hey guys, it's Tara here. Happy Wednesday. Okay, so it's the Wednesday after a long weekend. If you celebrated Rosh Hashanah, Happy New Year to you guys. And if you go to public school or have any kind of job like that, you might have had some extra days off this weekend. With back to school in session right now, it's like that time of year where it's almost like a second New Year's. So if you celebrate Rosh Hashanah, it really is New Year's for you. And if you don't, it can almost feel like a second New Year's, September. September is when we get back into routines a lot of times, whether you have school-age children or not. Most of us feel this at some point. We get back into routines and we're ready for that schedule. We might have more regular bedtimes, more regular meal times, that type of thing. So I can't see who's joined me. So if you're here, please say hello. So today I want to talk about one big mistake that I see really, really often with the women that I'm helping on their weight loss journey. And I want to share that with you guys too, because maybe you can resonate. So first of all, before we get into that, can we talk about the painter's tape here? I see Kate is here, Tiffany's here. I don't know what's going on here. And Sarah. Hey guys, thanks for joining. I don't know if you guys are like my husband and I, but we take on a project. I say we, my husband does most of it, and we finish it like 95% of the way, and then something happens. There's like a party or something going on, and we have to like put things away really quickly, and we say, oh, we'll finish that up next weekend or whatever, and it doesn't happen. Hey Tiffany, thanks for joining. So don't mind the unpainted doors here. These are little pocket doors to my office, and the painter's tape, which by the way, the whole room, I needed to put 90 pieces of painter's tape one night. That was not fun. All right, so let's get into the topic. So the mistake that I see everyone making is counting certain things as particularly protein when they are predominantly something else, a different kind of food group. So many of you know that protein is really important for our health, for our healing and repair, for us to be able to feel satisfied after a meal, that we're not constantly hungry. It helps us to balance out our blood sugar and balance out our hormones. Protein's important for a lot of different things. Now, knowing that, a lot of people will then go for these different types of items thinking that it is really just a protein source or mostly a protein source, and not actually realize that it is more of a carb or more of a fat, that type of thing. So I don't want anyone to get obsessive with the numbers. I don't think that most people really need to be counting and adding up and weighing and doing all of those things. I mean, that is like reserved for the elite athletes or people making weight cuts and all those types of crazy things. I won't even take those types of people on as clients because that's not something I'm interested in. I'm interested in overall health. I'm interested in helping you move towards your ultimate goals, not just like, the weight cut type of thing. Sarah says, I use the rule of only carbs from cruciferous vegetables. Okay, Sarah. Yeah, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but Sarah, I believe that you do keto. So this is not going to be a keto conversation. So this is something that you're probably going to know a lot about already. Hey, Faith, thanks for watching. Good morning, Faith. Okay, let me just take a step back. I don't want anyone to become obsessive with the numbers. I just think that while you're trying to get into this new routine of September, it might help that you kind of take a look at nutrition facts and get something in order. It may come down to the fact that you come up with a really healthy breakfast that is balanced and healthy and satisfying to you, and then you stick with that for a while, because you might not be able to switch up meals every single day all the time. You might want to get into that little bit of a routine until you're finding that you're getting the results that you want, and then once you feel confident, you can kind of switch it up from there. All right, so let's talk about some of these options. So number one, I hear a lot of people talking about peanut butter. I love peanut butter. I love it, love it. And it's great. It can be part of your overall healthy plan. Hey, Jamie, thanks for joining. Now, I have a regular, just a regular thing of peanut butter here. And so most of the nutrition information is very similar from one peanut butter to another. Please make sure when you buy peanut butter, just a little side note, that you it doesn't have anything besides peanuts. Maybe salt. This one has some salt in it too. That's okay, a little bit of salt. What's here? 55 milligrams of sodium is really not so bad. A little bit of salt's fine. It should not have added sugars, syrups, hydrogenated oils, anything like that. It doesn't need to have that stuff. It tastes really good without it, I promise. So this peanut butter has, and now I think it's gonna show it backwards for you guys, but I'm just gonna do that. So these new labels have the calories like really big on there, but I'm not even talking about calories here. Let's look at the 3 macronutrients. So the macronutrients are fat, carbs, and protein, just so that you can determine what category it fits in. Now, I also want you to keep in mind, most foods cannot just fit into one category, okay? But in order to simplify things so that you can balance out your plate, you may have to, in your mind, kind of categorize it one way or another. So most people will think of peanut butter as being a protein. So I'll just tell you, this one has 16 grams of fat. A serving size is 2 tablespoons. So there's 16 grams of fat, 7 grams of carbs with 2 grams of fiber. So when you're coming up with your net carbs, you can subtract the fiber out because we don't actually digest that. So 7 minus 2 is 5, all right? So 16 grams of fat, 5 grams of carbs, and the protein is 8. So you can see from here that the fat is literally double the amount of protein in here. This counts as a fat, okay? So if you're doing my hand portion method, which many of you are familiar with, if you're not, drop me a note here or a message and I can send that over to you. But if you're portioning out your meals using your hand portions, this is a serving of fat, your thumb, and this counts as a fat. Now, it brings some protein along for the ride, so that's a good thing, okay? But this is not, you can't just have like spoonfuls and spoonfuls because you're trying to add up the protein. Because in order to get enough protein out of here that you, as an adult, should get in a single meal, you would be going way over your fat and your calorie goals that you would have if you were trying to lose weight. Okay, let's move on to something else. So hummus. Here's a popular brand, Sabra. Okay, this is, I know there's glare. Classic. A serving size here is also 2 tablespoons. The calories are 70. The total fat is 5 grams. The total carbs are 4 minus 1 gram of fiber. So we're looking at 3 grams of carbs. And the protein's 2. So let me say that again. The fat is 5. The net carbs are 3. And the protein's 2. So a lot of times people will go to hummus, especially if you're plant-based, as a source of protein. Now again, you're gonna get a little bit of protein along for the ride, so that's good, but this is predominantly a source of fat, okay? And it's got even more carbs in it than it does protein. So just something to be aware of, okay? Not saying any of these things are bad. They can all be part of your overall healthy diet, but just to be aware of where you're putting these things. Now I've got one of these little mini Lara bars here. This is the peanut butter cookie brand. So if you're not familiar with Lara bars, some of them have more ingredients than others. This one has 3 ingredients: dates, peanuts, and sea salt. And this one has 5 grams of fat, 11 grams of total carbs minus 2 grams of fiber. So we're looking at 9, and 3 grams of protein. So I'll say it again. The fat is 5, the net carbs is 9, and the protein is 3. So once again, here is something where someone might grab this thinking that they're grabbing a source of protein, and they're actually getting more fat and more than double the amount of carbs than they are protein. I made a post about this one day last week. A lot of protein bars that call themselves protein bars should actually be renamed as carb bars, okay? Because they have, a lot of them, so much more sugar than they actually have protein in there. Could that be helpful for a certain situation at a certain time? Yeah, if you want that quick energy, if you are a hard gainer, you're looking to gain weight, you're looking to bulk up, you need that quick hit of energy after a really intense gym workout. But for most of the people that I'm talking to, and for most of my client base, which is women between like the ages of 30 and 50, looking to get healthier and lose some body fat, they just have to be aware of what they're putting in their bodies, right? So if you have this, you just have to know that this is going to be your source of carbs for that meal or that snack, okay? And you might need additional protein then on top of that. Now, just to kind of switch it out, I'm gonna go the other extreme here. I'm gonna show you this carton of egg whites. Now, another little caveat, I don't think that we should be having only egg whites. I think the yolk is really good for us. It's really healthy. So a lot of times if I have something with egg whites, I will mix in one whole egg. So I have at least one egg yolk in my day, and I can mix in some egg whites. So for me, I'm a vegetarian. I'm a vegetarian that can't do dairy. So basically the only source of animal protein that I can eat are eggs. So I'll have like one full egg, and I'll mix in like 3 servings of this, which is the equivalent of 3 egg whites. And that gives me like 20 grams of protein for my meal. I have it over a whole bed of greens, and that really keeps me full for a while. I cook it in some coconut oil, so I've got some added fats there too. But this, for 1 serving, is 3 tablespoons. And that is 0 grams of fat, 0 grams of carbs, and 5 grams of protein. So if you put in 9 tablespoons, you're getting 15 grams of 15 grams of protein plus your whole egg, let's just say, and that brings you up to around 21 grams of protein. And there's still no carbs, and there's no fat in here, and then you're getting some of the fat from that whole egg. And of course, whatever oil you decide to cook it in if you do scrambled eggs. So why did I bring my little props here today? I just want to show you that sometimes you can be deceived with what you're grabbing. Sometimes we just pick and choose certain things. Maybe we're just reading the ingredient list, which, by the way, if you could only get your hands on, let's say, the nutrition facts or the ingredient list of something, the ingredient list is always going to be, in my opinion, more important to make sure that you're choosing the right quality food. So you want to choose something that's not overly processed whenever possible. You want to choose something that has the shortest ingredient list or no ingredient list wherever possible. As far as the nutrition facts, it can help to fill in the gaps there and help us to see stuff. So like I said, this little Larabar has dates, peanuts, and sea salt. If you just read that, you might think it had more protein because you're like, oh, well, it's got peanuts. I know peanuts have protein. And now you can see there's only 3 grams in here, okay? Not a lot. Most of us should be concentrating on getting about the size of your palm, okay? About the size of your palm's worth of protein at least 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Very roughly, that works out to be about 20 to 30 grams of protein with most items. And what's neat about this is that it scales up or down with your body size. So if you're a bigger person, you're going to tend to have a bigger hand and need more protein. And if you're a smaller person, you're going to tend to have a smaller hand and need less protein. So it kind of works out like that, and it comes with you everywhere, and you don't have to measure anything out. So the one big mistake, just to bring it all back home here, the one big mistake that I see a lot of people making in their weight loss journey is that they are adding up the wrong types of food, thinking that it's going to help them to make progress, okay? So they might have a big serving of hummus or a double serving of peanut butter, or they may grab 2 of these little mini bars and think, okay, I've got my protein in for the day, when in truth there's more carbs in it, let's just say, or more fat, which is a higher concentration of calories. Fat is good, but you got to watch your portion sizes if you're trying to lose weight. So then they might be hungry an hour later, because if you have something that's more carbs, it's going to spike up that blood sugar and then come crashing down. So just look at your packages, okay, for, let's say, I don't know, the rest of your week. Take a look at what you eat and notice if something has more or less protein than you thought. I have a feeling a lot of these things that you think have more protein probably don't. Okay, that's the mistake that I see a lot of people making. Another thing to keep in mind, because a lot of you guys have children that are watching, is that kids do need protein often throughout the day, just like we do, but they don't need nearly as much as we do. So the evidence out there right now supports the fact that older adults actually need the most amount of protein because their bodies just need it the most. They have the most trouble digesting it, so it's not assimilated into their bodies as well. So when you're looking at your older population, our parents, our grandparents, they need actually the most amount of protein. Maybe if you're like a weightlifter or something, a bodybuilder, that type of person, they're going to need a lot too. The more damage you do, the more healing you have going on in your body, the more protein that you need. Children that weigh a lot less, they don't need nearly as much protein, okay? So some of these sources actually could be sufficient for your child. So if you're worrying now, like, oh my gosh, my child eats peanut butter on Ezekiel bread and I don't have any other source of protein at their lunch, that's fine. That's probably plenty for them. Of course, there's individual things that vary. If they really are way underweight and they need to gain, or if they're super picky and they're hardly eating any sources of protein, there's other things that can be done there. But just know that this 8 grams of protein that's in 1 serving of peanut butter is going to be enough for most children most of the time with meals. For you, this could be about half of your protein needs for a meal, but it's not gonna be the whole thing. So keep that in mind. If you have any questions, I know protein sources can be tricky, especially if you're trying to avoid some meat and fish. This is my world. I've been a vegetarian since the age of 8, so I'm really happy to help any of you. If you want to leave a comment or shoot me a message, we can talk about protein all day long. I hope you're having a great day. If you are watching from down south, the Carolinas, Georgia, Virginia, or if you have family down there, I hope everyone is really safe. I hope everyone's evacuating that should. We've got that big hurricane coming through. So I'm thinking about everybody, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.